Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first session of the CST side event here at GSR. What keeps the internet running and why it matters for regulators and telcos. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and I'm very honored to be moderating this first session. Without knowing you personally, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that every one of you in this room this morning has either loaded a website or sent an email or done something else on your phones, maybe whilst you're sitting in this seat, that builds on the internet's invisible infrastructure. And you probably didn't think twice about how you could send that email or load that website with such ease. So this infrastructure is a complex web of domain names, of IP addresses, of protocols that are all working quietly in the background. And it's a little bit like plumbing, right? We only notice it when something's gone wrong. But for the next hour, this infrastructure is going to have our undivided attention, and thank you for being here. We're going to talk about this infrastructure from a technical perspective, but also from a strategic one. One of the most important developments ahead of us that's coming next year is the next round of the generic top-level domain applications. And this process is led by the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN, and it's shaped by global community input. So essentially it allows governments, businesses, and civil society to apply for new domain extensions. So it goes beyond your familiar kind of .com or .org or your country code. And it's a lot more than a naming exercise. It's a chance to shape the digital landscape in ways that reflect national priorities, cultural identity, to enhance linguistic diversity online. New domain names support digital sovereignty. They create dedicated spaces for public services. They promote innovation across a variety of sectors. For regulators and telcos, it's an opportunity to align infrastructure with policy goals and ensure that the internet is serving local needs and that it is meeting global standards. This matters even more when we consider that half of all the internet content out there is in English. When billions of people speak other languages, they write in non-Latin scripts when they're speaking and typing in their native tongue. So expanding domain name systems and digital identifiers is a way to rebalance this. We can make the internet more inclusive, we can make it more representative, and we can make it more accessible. To discuss all of this and more, I am joined by an exceptional panel of experts. So allow me to refer more closely to my notes so I read them properly. Mr. Bahar Esmet is the Vice President for Stakeholder Engagement at ICANN and Managing Director of its Middle East and Africa office. Bahar has spent over 2 decades at the forefront of internet governance, including roles with the UN's Internet Governance Forum and numerous working groups. His leadership is central to ICANN's global coordination efforts and this upcoming domain name expansion round. Allow me to introduce everyone and then the panelists will join us. Mr. Hisham Al-Hamed is the Director of the Saudi Network Information Center at the Communication Space and Technology Commission, CST, who have generously given us this platform for today's discussion. Hisham leads Saudi Arabia's domain name strategy. He oversees the modernization of registration names and the growth of Arabic name adoption. His work is a model for aligning national infrastructure with global standards and advancing digital identity. Mr. Najib Mokni is a Communication and Information Program Specialist at UNESCO's Regional Office for the Gulf States and Yemen. Najib leads initiatives on digital inclusion, linguistic diversity, and access to information. His background in public service and legal reform brings a valuable perspective on how domain names can support cultural heritage and multilingual access. And last but not least, Mr. Osama Al-Dosri, an independent advisor in the Technology and Commission in Technology and Communications with over 25 years of experience across both public and private sectors. He is the president of the Saudi Internet Society and serves on the advisory board of the Saudi Internet Exchange. So, allow me now to put some faces to these names and invite our panelists to join us. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you all, lovely to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin our panel discussion, but please do make a note of any question that you might already have or that comes to mind during the next half an hour, because after the on-stage discussion, we will turn our attention to you and receive your questions. Mr. Osama, let's start broad. We want our internet to be as healthy as possible and work for us all. So what should we be doing on a national and an international level to make sure that that happens?
So it's a broad question, and I would say there's many things that can be done, but for simplification, I'm going to put them in three buckets. So the first bucket is accessibility, the second bucket is collaboration, and the third bucket is competition. Now, what I mean by accessibility, and what I mean by accessibility is actually the access to connectivity, first of all, and then the access to content in your language, for example. Mm-hmm. And it could be also not only access to internet coverage, but access to internet coverage in a way that is reasonable to you. For example, price. Is their price reasonable, right? And another thing could be localization, not only of the language, but localization of the content. Is it available locally, right? Or is it so far that the performance is very poor? So that's, broadly speaking, that's the accessibility bucket. Mm-hmm. And the second bucket is collaboration. Now, collaboration also is multifaceted, so we can talk about the collaboration amongst operators in order to peer in internet exchange points, in order to improve the performance and maintain high quality. And we can also talk about the collaboration in a multi-stakeholder governance manner, where you have government plus private sector plus civil society all collaborating together to develop policies that improve the running and improve the operation of the internet. And then the third bucket is the competition. Now, competition. To elaborate on what I mean by that is that it's very important to have an open market, an open, highly competitive market for operators, for internet operators. And this is extremely important because it allows the operators, when you have such a competitive environment, it creates this drive for operators to always better for customers, better the services for customers, whether it's improvement in pricing, whether it's improvement in the quality of the connection to customers, whether it's this striving to always innovate and introduce better services than others to service and improve and enhance customer experience. Now, this competition component is actually an important factor, and it may actually influence all the two other buckets. And it's actually probably the most relevant in an environment like this. We're talking about regulation, and as we know, the main reason regulators are created is to actually maintain competition. And I don't have much to say. I'm not going to say much in this area, but except that we need to go back to basics when it comes to regulation. We need to maintain, for example, a high HHI index. We need to minimize oligopoly and oligopolic practices as much as possible. And in those scenarios where we do have oligopolies, we need to make sure that they are limited as much as possible and not hinder from new operators coming in or existing operators needing to compete with their suppliers.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So accessibility, collaboration, with any luck, we'll expand on this in the course of the next hour, and also competition. Thank you, Mr. Osama. Mr. Bahr, I'd like to bring you in at this point to speak to ICANN's perspective on all of this going on. What is ICANN doing right now to build the resilience and the security of the internet, particularly when we think about the growing cyber threats that the world is facing?
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, I hope you can hear me now. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity for having us here today. To answer the question, I think one could look at the internet as two like layers, if you will. One layer is the one that we as users interact with all the time, the applications, the email, browsing, social media, and so on. So this is like the visible layer that we know and deal with quite often. The other layer is less visible. It's the underlying infrastructure of technical identifiers of names, numbers, protocols. These are basically the identifiers that connect the systems together. They make the internet work. And this is the part, this visible part is the part that ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, is responsible for coordinating at the global level. So ICANN coordinates the technical identifiers of the internet through a multi-stakeholder mechanisms involving governments, business, technical community, end user community, civil society, and so on. And why does this matter? It matters because maintaining one global and interoperable internet is key for economies, is key for business and innovation, is key also for national security. And by coordinating this underlying infrastructure of names and numbers at the global level with the involvement of all stakeholders, we ensure that these systems remain secure, stable, resilient. Hence, the internet itself continues to operate in a stable and secure manner. The other point why this coordination is essential is that, and I think Osama touched on this quickly, the interaction between national regulations, regulatory frameworks at the national level, and the global coordination of these systems. This interaction is quite essential because imagine that global community, global stakeholders, they develop policies to for these systems of names and numbers and so on to run and operate in a certain way, while at the same time governments are developing regulations at the national level, and there is no alignment between those. And we've seen a few cases in the past few years with regulations that were developed. The most popular one is the data protection regulation in Europe, GDPR. And the way GDPR was developed to ensure the privacy and data integrity of the European citizens. And when the regulators, worked on this, GDPR regulation, they did not consider the potential impact of the GDPR on the naming system of the internet. And that's why ICANN had to work very closely with the European Commission and regulators in Europe to ensure alignment. Now, this alignment is important, and ideally, if we can always maintain alignment between national regulations and global policies, then we ensure that the internet continues to operate in a secure and stable and resilient manner.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Bahar. Mr. Hisham, I'd like to bring you in now to give that perspective from Saudi Arabia. Please could you share with us what CST is doing, what strategies are in place to align Saudi Arabia's infrastructure with global standards, but also to ensure that the security and the integrity of domain name registrations in the kingdom.
Clear? You can hear me?
Okay. You can hear.
Thank you very much to having me in this panel. Maybe starting from the points that was raised by my colleagues Bahar and Osama, they maybe discuss it from high level. Maybe we'll go more deep for the from technical perspective details about especially the .sa. .sa is the national domain for Saudi Arabia, and it's part and it's the main component. The domain name is the main component for the DNS system, which is also the main component within the internet infrastructure. Although that it's not even seen by the end user. Maybe the end user is using the domain name without attention how the domain name is deal with under the scene, which is very complicated, very critical, and very sensitive. As maybe most of you know that the domains have maybe in general two types. It's the GTLD, which is the generic top-level domain like .com, .net, and others, and the CCTLD, which is the country code top-level domain, which contains of two characters such as .sa. CST has the responsibility to regulate the .sa, and the delegation of .sa was done maybe back in 1995 when was the responsibility with KAXT, King Abdulaziz City for Science and Technology. Then it's transferred to CST on 2006. After that, CST continued the improvement. And the main thing that we work on is to having a regulatory framework that makes sure that we have the registration in authentic and fairness manner for all people. Based on that, we build the first level and the base and foundation, which is the registration regulation, which focus on the obligation of the registrant, the prohibited activities, and the other aspects that need to be regulated based on the best practice and international standardization. The second thing that we focus on the infrastructure. We should have the resilience infrastructure, secure and authentic infrastructure, and we work on many tracks. The first track was having like a very resilient network for the name servers. So we have one of the biggest Anycast network among the world, using our with Collaborate. As mentioned by my colleagues, the collaboration in this field is very important. We have a collaboration with our telecom operators, with ISPs, and also with some international organizations that provide the Anycast services. After that, also we work on applying the best practices, such as DNSSEC, which is one of the latest standardization for securing the DNS. We enabled the DNSSEC 2017 as the first country in the Middle East that enables the DNSSEC from authoritative part for the TLDs. Then after that, we take step further with collaboration with our telecom operators to enable the validation part, and this result to having like 98% of the traffic in Saudi Arabia is validated against the DNSSEC, which make the Saudi Arabia the first country among all the G20 countries. From the registration part, also we build our registration system to maintain the severity. We build our registry service in-house based on open source tools to make it more customized, to support our local needs, and to be more flexible for future innovations. This overall, this maintain the infrastructure. So we maintain the regulation part, the infrastructure, and for the market, in 2021, we opened the market. We have licensed registrars, and we make it exclusively for the Saudi companies to maintain our local market. Now we have more than 6 registrars, and these registrars, when we opened the market, we saw the very remarkable growth. Previously, when was CST providing the service for free, we was registering maybe around 5,000 domain name per year. Last year, we registered more than 20,000 domain name, which show how this change in the the model of providing the service have the value for .sa.
This is wonderful, Mr. Hisham. Thank you. And thank you for sharing the incredible growth of domain names as well, most recently. Allow me to shift the conversation towards multilingual access. Mr. Najib, thank you for your patience. I'd like to bring you through the conversation now with two tasks. First of all, please could you share with us a high-level overview of universal access, UA? What do we mean by this? And specifically, where do you see countries integrating linguistic and cultural diversity into their digital strategies? Thank you.
Thank you, Therese, for the question. You hear me? You hear me?
We cannot hear right now.
Yes. Now, you hear me now?
Now we're good.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, and allow me to thank the organizers and also ICANN for the invitation. UNESCO is pleased to be part of this interactive discussion that aims to advance multilingualism and cultural and linguistic diversity, especially online. Thank you for the question, and also this can allow me to talk a little bit about and highlight UNESCO's work advancing this multilingualism and linguistic diversity, especially within and through its partnership with ICANN, harnessing language technology and universal acceptance, as you said, to promote linguistic diversity in the digital age. The challenge is not only technical challenge, it's also an ethical and cultural imperative. Ensuring that all people, regardless of their linguistic background, can access, contribute to, and benefit from digital resources, it's central for UNESCO's mission. Language are not only vehicle of communication, but also carriers of cultural identity, knowledge, and worldview. Our commitment to digital inclusion is embodied in the 4A approach. The first A is advocate, where we call for a collective action to address the severe imbalance in online linguistic representation and the barriers to accessing information, especially in low resources languages. The second A, align, through our work with global policy frameworks, such as the UNESCO 2003 recommendation on multilingualism and universal access to cyberspace, by promoting multilingual content, expanding access to networks and services, and supporting public domain resources. The third A is accelerate by advancing the use of language technologies to support the Sustainable Development Goals, and the fourth A, afford, by striving to ensure that resources remain accessible and affordable for all, regardless of language, community, or economic status. By saying this, important to highlight UNESCO's commitment to promoting multilingualism, and UNESCO here play a fundamental role in bridging the digital divide by focusing on indigenous and underserved communities. By prioritizing digital inclusion, UNESCO aims to bring the next billion users online, ensuring equitable access to knowledge and opportunities for all. Let's focus on universal acceptance, as you said. And here, universal acceptance refers to UNESCO's commitment with partners like ICANN to ensuring that Internet can handle all domain names and email addresses, regardless of language or script, making the digital world truly inclusive and linguistically diverse. UNESCO advocates for the technical and policy changes needed to support internationalized domains name, IDN, and empower people to participate fully in the global digital society. There is a technical goal within this universal acceptance, because the universal acceptance ensures that all Internet-enabled applications, devices, and systems can process domain names and email addresses using any language or script. And why this is needed and why this is important? This is important because many existing systems created years ago only support Latin-based characters sets. And universal acceptance aims to update these systems to handle internationalized domain names, which allow users to use their native languages and scripts online. What is the role of UNESCO on this universal acceptance? The first role is the advocacy and awareness raising. And here UNESCO champions universal acceptance as a human rights imperative and a key component of digital inclusion, working to raise awareness among its member states about its importance for linguistic and cultural diversity. The second role, partnerships, and here UNESCO collaborate closely with ICANN, the organization responsible for the Internet's domain name systems, to promote and implement universal acceptance. And the third role is through global events, and UNESCO participate in events like the Universal Acceptance Day to mobilize stakeholders and encourage the development of policy and technical solutions that support multilingual internet.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Najib, and thank you for taking us through the broad range of activities that UNESCO is doing in this space. Mr. Bahar, I'd like to bring you in at this point, thinking about universal access, UA, and internationalized domain names, IDNs. Do you see globally now that these concepts are being treated as kind of essential infrastructure, or are they still somewhat of an optional choice that we see?
Thank you for the question. So to bring the next billion users online, this requires more than just basic access. I mean, when we talk about accessibility, there are different levels of accessibility. I mean, everyone can access the internet, but the experience itself varies based on what they do online and how they do it. Do they do it using tools and systems that they are comfortable dealing with, or they can do it, but it takes more time and effort compared to experiences elsewhere? This is what universal acceptance is about. Universal acceptance is not an optional feature, in my view. It's a technical requirement that ensures that everyone can have the full experience of the social and economic value of the internet. It's about the language, it's about the culture, it's about the development of tools and systems that are in compliant with, speaking of this region, compliant with our Arabic culture, our Arabic, heritage, and so on and so forth. And just going back to the IDNs, or internationalized domain names, these are domain names in different languages and scripts, including the Arabic language, like .as-Saudiya here in Saudi Arabia. Our region, the Arab countries, were at the forefront 15, 20 years ago, calling on ICANN and other internet organizations to allow and to introduce domain names in different languages and scripts. So it's something that was actually rooted in this region. There was a real need, and I think there is, and Hisham may comment on that, there is still a real need in our region to ensure that our communities can have access to the internet through not only Arabic content, but also Arabic domain names and email addresses. So back to the question, I don't think it's an optional. If we're serious about ensuring that everyone has this opportunity for fully accessing the internet in their local languages and scripts. And therefore, ICANN has been working with many organizations, stakeholders around the world, from governments, from country code operators like .sa registry in Saudi Arabia, businesses, to ensure that businesses that develop applications and tools, that those applications and tools understand domain names in different languages and scripts. We also work with global and international organizations like UNESCO, and with partnership with UNESCO, we organize the Universal Acceptance Day on March 28th of every year. In 2025, it was the third year. This event has been organized with over 50 events organized in over 50 different countries between events to raise awareness of what IDNs and UA are, events to training activities to train technical people and engineers on how to develop and maintain systems with IDNs, and also workshops that showcase adoption, real cases of adopting universal acceptance.
Perfect. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Bahr. Mr. Hisham, this is a great moment to turn again to the CST and the work being done to expand Arabic domain names. Saudiya, for example, as Mr. Bahr highlighted. Please could you share with us what that means for local digital engagement in the kingdom?
Thank you again, and as mentioned by my colleague Bahr, that using or providing domain names in the local languages is now, it's a must. Any country should have the building their need or local needs to having identifier in their own languages. Based on that, CST spent a lot of effort in this part, starting from 2004 by working regionally with the Arabic countries and Gulf countries to have building the standardization, and based on that CST published some RFCs for technical aspects for the Arabic domains and how it's implemented. Also, CST believe that having only the domain name in Arabic is not the thing that needed by the people. They need also to have add-on services, like having their own email address in Arabic domain, even the complete address. Based on that, we in CST work to implement a proof concept for Arabic email system, which is the first Arabic email system, and we compare it with some international email systems like Gmail and Microsoft and its success to communicate with all the clients and mail servers. Also, we start registration for Nuqta Saudiya, which is our IDN, starting from 2010 as the first one of the first countries in the region. Also, we implement some innovative solution and tools to solve some technical problems that can be occur for the Arabic domains. That it's not. We cannot see it in other languages, such as we call it the variance issue. Maybe it's very technical, but let me give you a small description for it to understand the complication in this part. For example, if you want to access google.com, you don't think about the capitalization or small letters because it will be solved by the protocol itself. But in the Arabic, no, the problem is different because they call in the Unicode, we have the Arabic script. Arabic script is used by different languages, not Arabic language only, like Arabic language, Urdu languages, Farsi, and other languages. For example, the letter Ya having the same shape for the different language. So we will have the Ya for Urdu, the Ya for Arabic. So having two different domain with the same shape, this will be used like kind of attacks, what's called the homograph attacks that can be used for phishing and other attacks techniques. From our side, we build an innovative solution to have a master key. So if you register a domain in Arabic, all the variants will be blocked. No one can register this variant, and this can be solve many technical issues that can be can face the Arabic domain users.
Mr. Hisham,
yes.
Allow me to come in here. I think this is a really important point, that when we're talking about the Arabic language, we're also talking about languages like Urdu, like you said, that are also using that script. And it goes back to what Mr. Osama said about the need for collaboration here. Allow me to pivot to our final theme of the day. And Mr. Bahr, I'm going to come back to you and put the spotlight on ICANN, because next year is a big year. 2026 is the year that we're seeing the next rounds of the generic high-level domain names. So I'd be super grateful if you could introduce to our audience what this application process will be, what it will do, and specifically, what are the opportunities here for governments and public sector entities that they should be preparing for?
Sure. So one of the reasons ICANN was established in 1998 was to introduce a competition in the domain name space and domain name market, because those of you who are old enough to remember in the 90s when we wanted to register a domain name under comnet.org, there was only one company in the world where we can register domain names with. So it was kind of monopoly. Now ICANN was established in 1998. In 2000, ICANN introduced the first round of new top-level domains, opening the door for whoever, with the, right business case and study and so on to run a new generic top-level domains to come forward and put a proposal forward to ICANN through a process and so on and so forth. So in 2000 was the first round, and then in 2004, there was another round, and then in 2012, exactly 13 years ago, that was the first, I would say, big round of new generic top-level domains. Because in this round, we got over 1,500 applications for 1,500 different generic top-level domains. Those who got accepted and made their way to the what we call the internet route are today over 1,200 generic top-level domains. These are domains representing different type, like between brand names like .google and .bmw, geographic names like Abu Dhabi and Istanbul and London and Paris, to and Africa, to other generic names representing different businesses, from hotels to photography and so on and so forth. So what this means is basically more choice, more options, and more competition. Now, one important thing to note is that this is not the kind of program, it's not, unlike UA and IDNs where ICANN, promotes these programs. We promote IDNs, we promote UA. We don't necessarily promote the next round program because we understand that running and operating a top-level domain is not something that anyone can do. This is a serious operation. This is like running a piece of, like an infrastructure piece of the internet. So it requires a lot of technical know-how. It requires a business, thought and stability and, operational capability. And of course, it also requires assurance that this infrastructure will operate in a stable and secure manner. And this is our role. This is what ICANN is there about, for. So the thing is, ICANN introduces the program. We manage the program, we manage the process. The policy itself was developed by the ICANN community over the past years. It was approved by the ICANN board, and ICANN for the past 2 years has been working on the implementation of the program itself. And as you said in the beginning, that we plan to launch the program in April 2026, 8 months from today. Now, what does that mean for governments in particular? Again, it means more opportunities for governments to represent themselves, to represent their initiatives, to represent maybe their societies and cultures online. Governments may opt for, either applying or supporting some of the top-level domain, new top-level domain applications, if those applications represent, a cultural aspect or a geographical aspect that belong to the government. As I said, we've seen many geographical names and city names and cultural related names. Governments may also help by through, again, collaborating with ICANN to introduce the program to the local community and helping the local community to better understand what the program is about. And if any local stakeholder would like to apply for a top-level domain name, then explain what is the process and so on. And we do this in collaboration with many governments around the world, including here in our region. Governments also have a key role in contributing to this process from the ICANN side. They have already contributed to the policy development part, and now with the implementation, they will have the opportunity to also, for example, if some applications may raise some concerns related to governments and so on, there are mechanisms in place for governments to raise the flag to ICANN and say there is an issue here.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Bahar. And it's all very exciting. 8 months to go. Allow me to put the spotlight back on civil society. Mr. Osama, when we get new domain names, that's an opportunity for new, meaningful digital spaces. What opportunities are here for civil society-led initiatives specifically?
Can you hear me? So I think it's a very good opportunity, and also an opportunity for greater digital sovereignty. And I always like to think in buckets as my answer to my first question. So let me try to address this as to lead to the role of civil society in talking about the golden triangle, the people, process, and tools. Let me start with tools. So there are a lot of tools that can be used for greater digital sovereignty. So what we need to do is we need to raise awareness about these various tools that are available, right? And then in terms of people, we need to play a bigger role in capacity building, in educating people, in giving them the skills that are needed to actually be able to run and manage these tools, these systems, and the greater internet as a whole. And then when we go to the process, this is very key, at least from my perspective, which is the process perspective. So, and this is a bigger challenge, maybe in our region than other regions, which is has to do with the participation of independent people and individuals and volunteerism, right? So today, the culture that we have requires a bit of a shift in corporate culture, in various organizations. We need to somehow change the process that exists in organizations to embed volunteering and professional volunteering specifically within these technical areas, to be a core part of the expectations of people, employees, engineers, technicians, admins, that they have to participate. They have to play a bigger role in helping others, in also creating the path for greater development. So that and feeding into this multi-stakeholder governance model that I talked about earlier. So I think the role of civil society is to basically help in all these three factors, but it's not I wouldn't say it's necessarily a chicken and an egg, but you can think of it as a feedback loop. Mm-hmm. So the greater work we can do in these three areas, yes, the greater impact potentially that the civil society has in improving these areas as well.
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very, very much. I, for one, am a fan of the buckets. I think it makes it very structured. Thank you. Mr. Najib, before we turn to our audience, I'd like to give you a final word to, again, look at UNESCO's work as kind of how domain expansion here is a great tool for promoting cultural heritage and linguistic diversity in digital spaces. So really going to the heart of what UNESCO is about.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the question. So the domain expansion is not only key for all the technical benefits already mentioned by Bahar, or also the digital sovereignty, national sovereignty, and also the impact on services and the economic benefits. There is also a cultural benefit. Let me start by saying that today about 90% of the online content is produced in just 12 languages, leaving thousands of other languages, including, of course, indigenous languages, underrepresented or entirely absent. So the domain expansions offer a powerful opportunity for cultural diversity and also linguistic diversity online. It's also important today that national strategies enable the use of IDNs and also the new top-level domains, because the national strategies and laws should not obstruct the universal acceptance adoption. The policy brief we are now developing under the memory of understanding between ICANN and UNESCO will serve as a source for policymakers and also academic institutions to advance education and capacity building on universal acceptance and the broader benefits of supporting diverse scripts and languages online in fostering linguistic and cultural diversity. So domain expansion in all languages and scripts will allow users to use their native languages online, express themselves, and it's key for digital inclusion and cultural diversity. Also, to bridging digital divides by bringing the next billion user online, as I said before. And also, the domain expansion foster cultural inclusion by allowing everyone, everywhere, to participate fully in the digital society in their own language and script. It will allow providing information in multiple languages, which will empower marginalized groups and strengthen cultural diversity, social cohesion, and also democratic governance. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to our speakers. Allow me to give you a very short break now as I turn outwards to our audience. So if you have a question, please do raise your hand. We'll have a microphone brought to you. Please introduce yourself, and then you can address your question to any or all of the speakers as you see fit, and we'll go from there. Yes, perfect. Thank you very much. We have a first question down here on my right-hand side.
السلام عليكم.
نسمعك. We can hear you.
السلام عليكم. واضح صوتي؟
واضح.
I ask by Arabic. I am منيرة من مشخص ميديا. راح أسأل بالعربي. شكرا جزيلا، يعني بجد المحاضرة جدا شدتني لأنها فعلا تهمنا جميعا. احنا راح نتكلم انه مثلا عندنا في المملكه العربيه السعوديه الحمد لله يعني المجال التقني والاتصالات على درجه عاليه من الاهميه والامان. لكن دعونا نتكلم عن موضوع اللي تطرق له الاستاذ نجيب والاستاذ باهر على موضوع الثقافات التي العربيه والثقافات الاسلاميه التي يجب ان نصدرها للعالم. والاستاذ نجيب من منظمه اليونسكو. دعونا نتكلم انه هناك مخاطر عالميه تدخل الآن في داخل الإنترنت في موضوع الأسرة، في موضوع يعني نبحث عن الاكتساب الاقتصادي ونشر الثقافات، لكن نسينا الأسرة، أن هناك بعض الألعاب التي أصبحت تهدم الأسرة، يعني روبلكس التي تم حظرها قبل فترة، لماذا لا؟ أو أيضا قبلها الحوت، وأيضا عملية الاختراقات الأمنية، عملية نشر المثلية على مستوى العالم، تقليل من خطورتها، رغم أنها نحن نعلم أنها تهدم الأسرة على مستوى العالم. يكتسبون ماليا ويكتسبون انتشارا. من يكتشف هذه؟ الأهالي. سؤالي إليكم، لماذا خصوصا منظمة اليونسكو، لماذا هذه الألعاب أو هذه الخطورة التي تخترق الأسرة وتخترق أيضا الجميع، لماذا لا يكون هناك اختبار مسبق لها قبل منح التراخيص؟ لماذا الأسرة الأم والأب عندما يلاحظون تغيير في سلوكيات الأبناء يكتشفون أن سببها هذه اللعبة، أن سببها هذا البث المباشر أو هذا الجهاز الصغير الذي هو باليد، ويستطيع أي طفل حتى لو كان عمره 4 سنوات الدخول على أي موقع. في الدول الأوروبية يضعون إشارة أنه فوق 18. للأسف الشديد دعونا نتحدث بكل صراحة، الدول الإسلامية والدول العربية نجد أنها بفضائهم واسع. البيئة، للأسف الشديد إحنا
مظبوط،
التلوث
شكراً.
البيئي إنه متى نستخدم الذكاء الاصطناعي
شكرا جزيلا يا أستاذ.
لمحاربة البيئة التي موجودة يعني مثلا حرق البلوتوث، سماعات البلوتوث لها مخاطر صحية.
واضح. شكرا جزيلا. Thank you very very much. I'm conscious that we may have
Okay.
others who would like to ask a question.
just few minutes. فنحن نبحث عن الأمان البيئي والأمان الأسري والأمان الاقتصادي للجميع المجتمعات، فنتمنى من منظمة اليونسكو إيجاد مثل هذه المحظورات لأي خطر يقادم على الأسرة أو على المجتمع. شكرا.
Absolutely. شكرا جزيلا للسؤال أستاذ. Well, Mr. Najib, allow me to give you a moment to reflect on this question specifically on child safety. Are there any other questions that we can gather and then go back to our panelists in one go? I'm on the lookout for any hands. Yes, down here on the left-hand side, please.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Muhammad Kudus, and I'm from Dubai as well, and my expertise user experience analyst as well and technical perspective as well. My question is Mr. Hisham regarding domains, because I have mostly working with the digital marketing team as well. So how to get that domain, how purchase, everything is a process as well. My question is, as per you mentioned here, just like in the domain, the Urdu and Arabic words, you are talking about the malware and the phishing attack, right? When, for example, many clients in my industry, they have a phishing and malware attack on their domain. So what happened? Your domain will be expired, right? So because of phishing and malware attacks. So my question is, how can you reduce this? Because as per my knowledge, as per my study, every character have a own binary code, right? So can we reduce the phishing and malware attacks as per binary code? If yes, then how is possible?
Wonderful. شكرا جزيلا للسؤال. Thank you very much. We could perhaps take one more question if it's out there in the audience. Yes, please, on the front row.
يعطيكم العافية جميعا. راح أتكلم بالعربية. أنا بس عندي سؤال للأستاذ هشام. أنت ذكرت قبل شوي برضو التأكيد الأخ اللي قبل الزميل اللي قبل شوي، أنت ذكرت في مشكلة بالحروف العربية والأوردو والفارسية. طيب ما المشكلة ذي موجودة بنفس الشيء باللغة الإنجليزية والفرنسية، اليو فوق 3 نقاط أو نقطتين والجي فوق. إيش صار المستجدات تبعها؟ وهل فعلا ممكن خلال الفترة القادمة نلقى الإيميل باللغة العربية؟ أو نعرب إيميلنا إحنا الآن اللي موجود إلى اللغة العربية يكون إيميل كامل باللغة العربية قريبا؟ يعطيكم العافية وشكرا.
Wonderful. Thank you very much to our audience. Allow me back to turn to our panel. So we have one question mainly for Mr. Najib. I will turn to you first, and then Mr. Hisham, you're the man of the moment, it would seem.
You want me to respond in Arabic or in English?
As you prefer.
Okay.
We have translation.
اوكي، شكرا على السؤال. طبعا اليونسكو لا تمنح يعني تراخيص بالنسبه للالعاب، لكن اليونسكو لها دور كبير في طبعا مثل ما ذكرت هناك عديد المستويات التي تشتغل عليها اليونسكو للعمل مع مختلف المتدخلين حتى تكون الانترنت يعني قائم على حماية حقوق الإنسان وحقوق الطفل، وكذلك ليضمن أن هذه الانترنت هي شفافة ومفتوحة وaccessible for all. فطبعا اليونسكو طورت مثلا guidelines for the governance of digital platforms launched by UNESCO لضمان كل هذه المبادئ. كذلك اليونسكو تشتغل طبعا لتفادي كل ما يتعلق بخطاب الكراهية على الانترنت، وكذلك كل ما خطابات التضليل والتنمر وغيرها من خلال ما نسميها الدراية الإعلامية والمعلوماتية أو الأماية الميديا أند انفورميشن ليترسي، وهي من أهم يعني المبادرات التي تشتغل عليها اليونسكو في كافة أنحاء العالم. ونشتغل على عديد الأصعدة. الصعيد الأول هو دعم السياسات الحكومية أو الوطنية لإرساء هذه مسألة الدراية الإعلامية والمعلوماتية وتنمية الوعي مع جميع المتدخلين، يعني مع صغار السن، مع الأولياء، مع المعلمين والمتعلمين إلى غير ذلك. وكذلك نشتغل على جانب هام وهو the integration، يعني إدخال هذه الدراية الإعلامية والمعلوماتية في البرنامج الدراسي للأطفال. والآن تقريبا هناك عديد البلدان التي تشتغل على هذا، واليونسكو طورت درس يمكن أن يتقع الاعتماد عليه، طبعا مع الأخذ بعين الاعتبار خصوصية كل بلد. كما نشتغل طبعا على يعني تطوير الكفاءات ونشر الوعي لدى خاصة الناشئة ولدى الأطفال، ومع المجتمع المدني ومع المدونين والمؤثرين انفلونسرز. فكل هذا يعني جهود، طبعا جهود اليونسكو تعاضد جهود الدول وتعاضد يعني منظمات المجتمع المدني، لكن اليونسكو لا تعطي تراخيص لهذه الألعاب. فهام جدا أنه نرجع إلى الجايدنس تبع اليونسكو اللي تتعلق بحوكمة هذه يعني الانترنت وحوكمة المنصات الإعلامية. شكرا.
شكرا جزيلا. Thank you very much, Mr. Najib. Thank you for the comprehensive response and for clarifying UNESCO's role in this process. That is an indirect one. Mr. Hisham, there is great interest in the Arabic script now coming onto the internet, and specifically in the possibility of an email address. Please, could I ask you to respond to our two questions?
بحكم أن نتكلم عن الأسماء العربية نتكلم بالعربي، وهذا حقيقة أنا ما كنت أدري فيه ترجمة. فعليا زي ما تفضل الأخ الله يعطيه العافية، فعلا فيه تشابه في الكلمات الإنجليزية مع بعض اللغات اللي تكتب باللاتيني. لكن لو نلاحظ في العربي قد يكون التشابه تشابه تام، يعني هنا تلقى يو فوقها نقطتين، لكن فعليا لما تشوف الياء العربي والياء الأردو متشابهة تماما. سام؟ لا، الأسماء النطاقات ما فيها تشكيل، لا يوجد فيها تشكيل. التشكيل متفق عليه كستاندرد ما يكون موجود، لأن هذا بيعقد الموضوع بشكل أكبر. فالتحدي أنه في تشابه تام، بل أن التشابه يصل إلى مرحلة أشكال الحروف في الحرف اللي في وسط الكلمة غير اللي في الحرف في آخر الكلمة. وهذا لأن النطاقات باللغة العربية مبنية باليونيكود، والستاندر حق الDNS مبني بالآسكي. فكل يونيكود له شكل من الآسكي، بالتالي قد يكون نفس الشكل له آسكي مختلف، وهذا اللي يسبب عملية التشابه التام المطلق بين النطاقات، وهنا يكمن التحدي. الأمر الثاني أن التحديات الموجودة في اللغة العربية لن يحلها إلا العاملين في اللغة العربية، بالتالي ما ننتظر لأحد أن يحل. وهذا كان منطلق البداية بحيث طلع فيها ستاندرد، ونشرنا حتى بيبر في عملية أبرز الممارسات اللي تتكلم عن اللغة العربية، ويعني هناك تنسيق بين الدول العربية فيها وعلى المستوى الدولي فيها. أتمنى أني أجبت الإجابة. بالنسبة للفيشنج، يمكن سؤال اللي قبل شوي، المقصود طبعا لما نتكلم عن الفيشنج في النقطة اللي ذكرتها، الفيشنج في الادرس نفسه، يعني لما يكون في تشابه تام في الادرس هنا تكون المشكلة. طبعا في اللغة الإنجليزية موجود تشابه، أن واحد مثلا يسجل جوجل بدال 2 أوز يحط أو زيادة يخليها 3 أوز، هذا ممكن وحادث، لكن عملية الديتكشن لها تكون أسهل، خاصة الآن مع أدوات الذكاء الصناعي، فعندهم عملية الرصد ما بعد التسجيل. إحنا في أسماء النطاقات السعودية عندنا عملية ضبط فيما قبل التسجيل. إحنا لا نسجل إلا للجهات داخل السعودية والأفراد السعوديين، وهم خاضعين لأنظمة البلد وخاضعين للتنظيمات، وبالتالي عليهم ريسبونسبيلتي وعليهم التزامات تتعلق بالنظام. فأي محاولة فيشنج هذا يعتبر مخالف، وقد ينطبق عليه اللي هو ما يتعلق بالجرائم الإلكترونية إذا كان هو بقصد، لأن نعرف أن واحد سجل نطاق، ممكن أنا كفرد سجلت نطاق لكن ما عندي خبرة تقنية لإدارته، فممكن يصير له عملية اختراق، ممكن يصير له عملية استخدام غير مبرر. فالعملية ضبط الفيشنج لا شك أنها عملية صعبة فيها تحدي كبير، سواء فهناك طريقتين، إما ما قبل التسجيل وهذا اللي نستخدمه في الدوتس اي، وعندنا ما بعد التسجيل في عملية الرصد المستمر. وفي الغالب الآن نستخدم بعض التقنيات اللي تتعلق بالذكاء الاصطناعي في عملية الرصد واكتشاف بعض النطاقات فيها مخالفة يتم إيقافها مؤقتا إلى أخذ من المستخدم ما يثبت أنه يستخدم استخدام سليم. فأتمنى إن شاء الله أجبت النقطة. بالنسبة للإيميل، باقي الإيميل العربي، الإيميل العربي اليوم موجود الآن، تستطيع تسجل نطاق عربي وتضع عليه، طبعا هو مو بترجمة للنطاق الموجود عندك، لكن أنت فعليا تصدر نطاق جديد باللغة العربية كامل. مثلا هشام يكون مثلا مستخدم @هشام نقطة السعودية. هذا بيكون الإيميل أدرس تبع النطاق. طبعا لا شك أن زي ما تفضل يمكن زميلي باهر في عملية اللي هو القبول الشامل Universal Acceptance، لنضمن أن الجهات التحدي الآن نشتغل مع وكلاء التسجيل لتوفير الخدمة بشكل أسهل على المستخدم، يستطيع يفعل النطاق الإيميل باللغة العربية زي ما يفعل الإيميل باللغة الإنجليزية، يكون سهل جدا. وهذا إن شاء الله شغالين عليه. كان فيه إيفنت السنة هذه بالتعاون مع الأيكان في عملية نشر ثقافة اليونيفرسال اكسبتنس وكيف تطبيقها، وعملناها مع وكلاء التسجيل وأيضا بعض الشركات التقنية اللي تقدم خدمات الاستضافة. وإن شاء الله هذا إن شاء الله في القريب العاجل يكون أسهل. هو موجود اليوم لكن يمكن يحتاج لخبرة تقنية قليل يعني. يعطيكم العافية.
شكرا جزيلا. Thank you very much for the questions. We have time for one very last question. I specifically asked perhaps if there's something from Mr. Bahar or Mr. Osama to keep our conversation very broad. Please raise your hand. Yes, the lady here at the microphone is on its way.
Hello all. Thank you for this amazing session. I have a question for Mr. Bahar and Mr. Osama at the same time. So Mr. Bahar, you have mentioned before that there's a need for a single global system for identifiers, correct? So based on that, how can regulators maintain the strike between keeping the balance between the sovereignty and the security in the country and between preserving the openness of the internet on the other hand? What are the steps that the regulator and legal specialists must take in order to maintain such a balance?
Perfect. So a bit of a legal focus here. Who would like to start? I'm happy.
Go for it.
Thank you for the question. So I think the key word here is collaboration. And we've heard, I think, all the speakers mention collaboration at the beginning. And by collaboration from my perspective in the context of this question is when we talk about regulators and we talk about government agencies, they do have a place at the table at international fora and organizations like ITU, UNESCO, as well as technical bodies like ICANN for the names, RIPE NCC for the numbers, and so on. So by participating in the process of policy development, you ensure that your national interests are taken into consideration. And I'll give you an example from ICANN. When we introduced IDNs, internationalized domain names, more than 15 years ago, that was not a decision made by ICANN, nor was the work leading to the introduction of IDNs was solely ICANN's work. It was a community-driven effort led mainly by governments, regulators, and country code operators like .sa, because these are the ones, A, who know the language. If we're talking about IDNs, they know the language and the scripts and so on, and B, they have the technical knowledge in this field, and then they, as regulators, they represent the national interests. So all of them, they came together to develop the rules that led to the implementation. So by ensuring that you're part of the process, then your interest will be taken into account, and at the same time, we maintain the global coordination for this global system.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Bahar. Mr. Osama.
Honestly, I don't have much to add to that, except to say that the going back to kind of the multi-stakeholder kind of model is very important, and that collaboration and that sense of volunteerism. So that if you see, there's the .sa and the IDN work that was done for the Arabic language. It was done very early on, and it was done primarily driven, even though it was government employees to some level and operator employees, but it was primarily driven by these individuals that actually had the encouragement and had that sense of, I want to help, I want to collaborate, I want to push it forward and improve. And so if we can embed that culture in all of our organizations, then that will drive drive us forward in the way we develop the internet in a better way.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the hour mark is upon us. I do apologize that we have no further time for questions. Perhaps the speakers won't thank me, but feel free to try and track them down afterwards. I'm sure they will take your questions. So today we've looked beneath the surface of the internet. We've looked at how to keep it secure, to keep it resilient. We've looked at the importance of multilingual access. وشكرا جزيلا للأسئلة. بفكر إنه لما رح نناقش إنه أهمية اللغات واللغات العربية على الأقل بنحكي يعني بشوي بالعربي في هذه المناقشة. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you to ICANN and to the CST for supporting with the organization of the session and granting us the space and time to discuss it today. We wish you a wonderful conference ahead. Thank you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.